Sisters, ladies and students and scholars, teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, those who are listening, watching from the field of science, arts, commerce and engineering, the most honorable President Commissioner Modi ji, respected ministers and doctors, honorable advocates, advertisers, administrators and advisors, affectionate sons and daughters. All of you are listening. I, Dr. Rakesh from USA, heartily, cordially welcome all of you. You are really praiseworthy, admirable and appreciable. Dear friends, in the present day and age, despite scientific progress, man is hopelessly entwined in his own web of selfishness and greed. He has forgotten all moral and human values. Today, man is scared of fellow human beings and nothing else. Today, neighbors resent each other, communities clash, and nations remain in perennial conflict. If one man gets degraded, then others rejoice. So why have human beings fallen so low? Why have they lost morality? The notion that human beings, who are God's greatest creation, have lost the supremacy of purpose, has become a reality. Why have human beings started following evil ways and become the devil incarnate? Why human beings are disgrading moral and social values? Why relationships and family values are crumbling? Why violence, corruption, theft, addiction, lack of character have become universally acceptable traits? These fallacies of human beings are removed only by the saints, who lead and guide the world as preceptors, keeping the current circumstances in view. Spiritual father of Dera Sacha Soda has taken concrete steps to reinforce these humanitarian values and promote universalism. Through his inspiring leadership, millions of followers of the institution have collectively embarked on newer vistas in humanitarian service. Several have become the members of social welfare programs, that is taking newer humanitarian endeavors to design heights. It had several such novel campaigns whether it is anti-drug abuse activities or the eradication of unemployment, prevention of female foeticide or blood donation, eye donation or organ donation, all have become nationwide and worldwide movements. On another front, orphans, destitute, and lepers, etc., are being helped. So the activities of institution to support and uplift society from the present morass. Among the newer initiatives, forced prostitution is being targeted in a big way. Similarly, the mentally infirm and even the intersex are being helped by bringing them back into the social mainstream. The social evil of dowry is being strongly tackled. Not only that, superstition, other malpractices are also being eliminated from society. The greatest need is to reinforce the value of universalism and make people understand the true importance of universalism. In that regard, Dera Satya is playing a stellar role. The ethos of institution is reflected in the following lines. Learn the way to live. Learn the way to live. Decorate your life. When the planet Earth, our mother, our father, the Lord, none other, then why big or small? Why discriminate in strife? Why don't we live life on the of love and helping each other? Unlock God's treasure trove. If the aforementioned sentences are followed, then the earth can become a picture of plenty where everybody has peace of mind. Everybody has prosperity. Today, addiction to material things has painted most in the colors of selfishness. Instead of limiting needs and stopping greed, man has degenerated such that human relationships, spiritual needs, and social bindings do not seem to have any meaning for him. India's culture, which was once considered the world's best, has degenerated into a polluted stream. Now, therefore, institution has taken a series of steps to reinforce these values, which are being constantly eroded, and through leadership inspire others to engage in self-improvement and social service. Only right actions can change society. Every family, every locality, entire society, and nay, the whole nation and the world will be full of love. Therefore, the readers are requested to go through this edition that briefly encapsulates the small endeavors of humanitarianism being carried on by institution. The activities documented here are important because these may take us beyond Millennium Development Goals, but only with everyone's active cooperation. And you are humbly requested to forgive any faults that may have crept in due our inadequacies. Dera Sacha Soda is located in Sirsa district of Haryana state of the North India. It is socio-spiritual organizations. That is a confluence of all religions. This organization was established in 1948 by founder Saint Shyam Raj. The ashram was established 5 kilometers away from the periphery of the town at the time of its inception. Dera Sacha Soda was founded by a jungle inhabited by wild animals and barren lands. But the acme of spiritualism, Shyamastana ji, spread such divine radiance that today it is a picture of grace and bounty. Shyamastana ji Maharaj opposed all forms of social evils and spread the message of the Lord's holy name, means meditation. Shyamastana ji Maharaj told people to practice honesty, hard work, and right livelihood, an inspiration that has carried on to the present day. Shyamastana ji established several branches of Dera Sacha Soda in Haryana, Punjab and Rajasthan, etc. His Holiness also travelled widely through villages, towns and cities to hold spiritual congregations and spread the meditation of God. In the year 1960, spiritual preceptorship was handed over to His Holiness Shah Satnam Ji Maharaj by Shyamastana ji, and he shed his human attire. Today, Dera Sacha Soda, through its various socio-spiritual activities, is contributing to all-round human development, from Maharaj Mastana ji to Saint Shah Satnam Singh ji, and coming on to the present day, spiritual preceptor, spiritual father. Nearly 50 million devotees have learned the method of meditation entirely free to find salvation from the cycle of transmigration. At the time of teaching meditation, the three cardinal principles of giving up liquor and all other addictions, giving up non-vegetarianism, and embarrassing morality are administered as a pledge. The spiritual organization that was started by Shamastanaji Maharaj has become a center of spiritualism to guide people away from addictions and all kind of evils. The present Guruji is eradicating dowry and has taken a very strong stand on various social relevant issues. A lot of gender specific initiatives have been started, like a drive against female foeticide, stoppage of prostitution, countering the rising tide of homosexuality, helping the transgenders, etc. In the present day and time, these are targets that are seemingly unachievable. Dera Sacha Soda has thrice established the Guinness World Record for blood donation. Apart from that, every month blood donation is done on a large scale for the Indian Army, for the police, for journalists, thalassemia victims, etc. And various blood banks take part in these mass events to rejuvenate our fragile environment. On 15th August 2009, Dera Sacha Soda managed another first by planting about 7 million trees in merely 8 hours, thereby creating another Guinness World Record. Guruji has also initiated unique institutions where the destitute and orphans are made to feel at home, and Guruji blesses them as God's spiritual children. The institution created for the girls is called the Home for the Royal Daughters, and for the boys it is called the Shelter of Loving Support. The residential facilities are extremely comfortable and the children are finding a graceful childhood restored, saved from a probable foeticide, orphaned existence, child labor, or even slavery. In the field of education and sports, the schools affiliated with ashram are creating newer records for ever expanding the horizons and frontiers of achievement. The educational institutions and the students have excelled in academics and sports to such an extent that international achievement has become a commonplace. Thus, they are bringing laurels to their families and the country. Dera Sacha Soda organizes unique specialty healthcare campus that are unheard of in India. These are absolutely free healthcare campus, and thousands of patients benefit from the free advice and the treatment that is offered there. Apart from that, there is a blindness eradication drive in the form of monthly eye campus that culminate in the mega eye camp in December. In the country and the world, Dera Sacha Soda followers take lead in donating their organs, their bodies and their eyes. The ashram is also supporting some of the best low cost and quality care centers for health, where the poor are treated free of cost. Dera Sacha Soda is forever striving for the helpless and the deprived sections of the society. Truly, Dera Sacha Soda believes that the path to worldwide social reform is through true spiritualism and right humanitarian action. The organizational outline: always eager to serve humanity. It is a people-centric structure, engaged in getting widows married, helping poor patients get free treatments, making houses for the homeless, getting poor girls married, donating blood, donating their bodies and organs after death, ending strife and disputes, their mediation, leading de-addiction initiatives, keeping the community and environment clean, etc. Towards these various social causes, the volunteers make ceaseless efforts for relief following untimely natural disasters, repatriation of the victims, and for various emergencies and exigencies. A special autonomous agency has been created by Dera Sacha Soda called the Shah Satnamji Greenest Welfare Force Wing. In this team, doctors, engineers, mechanics, teachers, and all spheres of society are duly represented. Presently, this wing comprises of 36,000 plus volunteers. These members are trained to render assistance in all kinds of disasters, like saving people from fires, rescuing people from rubble following earthquake, rescuing people from drowning, etc. There is a refresher course that is also given to the members every year to keep them updated and fit. Whatever any natural disaster takes place, even at the cost of endangering themselves, these volunteers engage in helping humanity. All members have given a legal undertaking that they themselves are liable for any consequences, a testimony to their tremendous spirit. His Holiness Shyamastanaji Maharaj from 1948 to 1960. Saint Mastanaji Maharaj established Dera Sacha Soda. His Holiness was born in the year 1891 AD in village Kotla, Tehsil Gande, in Balochistan, which is a state in present-day Pakistan. His Holiness belonged to the lineage, the traditional warrior clan. His Holiness Father Shri Pillamalji was a reputed member of the village and was addressed as Shahji. His Holiness's revered and pious mother Mata Tulsabai ji was an extremely devout lady. His Holiness was the only brother of his four elder sisters and was understandably the most adored in the family. His Holiness Saint Mastana ji was unique example of divinity, diligence and humanitarianism. None who was hungry or went back with his wishes unfulfilled from his Holiness's doors. His Holiness used to sweep the paths leading to his village every day by using the broom himself. His mission was that nobody should suffer comfort while walking the thorny paths. His Holiness also used to arrange water for the passer-by. Due to his intense spiritual learning, he met his master Saint Sam Singh Ji Maharaj at the predestined time as ordained. At the predestined time as ordained, His Holiness learned meditation from him. After learning the meditation, His Holiness started spreading the name of his spiritual master in Balochistan. Saint Sam Singh Ji Maharaj used to call His Holiness Mustana Shastani. After seeing the intense spirit of sacrifice, service and supreme devotion to spiritualism, Saint Sam Singh Ji Maharaj ordained His Holiness to go to the area of Sirsa and spread the message of God's name. In consonance with the wishes of the Holy Master, His Holiness came to Sirsa and started spreading the holy name. On 29th April 1948, 5 kilometers from Sirsa, His Holiness established Dera Sacha Soda. In the 12 years of His divine presence, His Holiness taught meditation to thousands of people and liberated them from the cycle of transmigration. His Holiness announced Saint Shah Satnam Singh Ji Maharaj as his successor, and following that, in April 1960, left his physical body. His Holiness Shah Satnam Singh Ji Maharaj from 1960 to 1990, Saint Shah Satnam Singh Ji Maharaj was the second in the lineage of the saints of Dera Sacha Soda. Shah Satnam Ji Maharaj incarnated in the village Shri Jalalana Sahib in district Sirsa on 25th January 1919. His Holiness's father was a Reverend Sardar Varyam Singh Ji, a Revered Sardar Varyam Singh Ji Sidhu, who was the landlord and the village headman. His Holiness's revered and pious mother Mata Askaur Ji was intentionally inclined towards spiritualism and religion. His Holiness was the only child born after 18 years. When His Holiness was merely 5 years old, his father passed away. His Holiness was brought up by mother, his maternal uncle, Shri Veer Singh Ji. His Holiness was imbued with an intense spiritual learning since childhood and was deeply involved in spiritual activities. When His Holiness came in contact with Mastanaji Maharaj, then he immersed and dedicated himself solely to his Guru. In the year 1953, His Holiness learnt meditation from Shyamastanaji Maharaj. After learning the meditation, His Holiness became a constant visitor to the spiritual congregations conducted by Mastanaji Maharaj. As a result, he renounced his worldly life because spiritualism was ingrained in every pore of his self. His spiritual Guru Saint Shyamastanaji Maharaj brought forth the spiritual power by anointing him as a successor on 28th February 1960. Prior to this, Shyamastanaji Maharaj put Satnam Singh Ji through a rigorous outward test that would make ordinary mortals shudder in disbelief. But Satnam Singh Ji did not waver and faced the trials and tribulations to Saint Mastanaji's complete satisfaction. His Holiness had a spiritual tenure of 30 years, in which he taught meditation to over 1.1 million beings. His Holiness authored thousands of spiritual hymns and several holy books. His Holiness travelled to Haryana, Punjab, Delhi and Rajasthan and covered over 2,250 villages and cities while teaching meditation and the way to spiritually correct life. His Holiness passed on the torch of spiritualism to the present Guruji, Saint Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh Ji Insa, on 23rd September 1990. After announcing him as the successor, they sat together on the spiritual seat for over 15 months, and in the end, on 30th December 1991, Shah Satnamji Maharaj returned to his eternal spiritual abode, but before leaving, he had promised it was him in the beginning, it was now him, and he shall continue to remain in the form of next master, a divine realization that tens of millions experience every day. His Holiness Saint Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh Ji Insa, present Master of Dera Sacha Soda, 1990 onwards. Utilization of barren and desolate land for the construction of ashram, considering the sea of devotees. The Shyamastanaji Dham, established by the founder Shyamastanaji Maharaj in 1948, proved to be inadequate. The devotees were increasing every year by leaps and bounds. A new ashram that had enough space area to hold the spiritual congregation was badly required. Therefore, to fulfill the objectives, it was to establish a new ashram on a barren and agriculturally infertile land several kilometers outside Sirsa. This area located on Bhadra Road was marked by sandy dunes ranging from 20 to 30 feet high. There was no way that water could be found. In the midst of sandstorms, under the scorching sun, the barren landscape appeared absolutely uninhabitable, and constructing an ashram there was absolutely unthinkable. The hissing winds would sound extremely scary, and occasional passerby would be petrified, thinking he was in some demonic landscape. The necessities of life appeared unimaginable in the middle of the harshness. But His Holiness Saint Spiritual Father made the impossible possible in the midst of such surroundings. In May 1993, the construction of new ashram commenced. 50 acres of land had dunes jutting 20 to 30 feet high above the ground. Spiritual Father evolved and taught the volunteers a new technique for the removal of sand dunes, using which they were cleared in a matter of few weeks. The excess earth and sand were dumped into natural depressions closer to the city from Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Delhi. Volunteers descended in large numbers, and under Guruji's, Spiritual Father's watchful guidance, they accomplished the impossible using bare hands, basic implements and tractor trolleys. The heat was unbearable, and sand provided no respite to the calloused and smoldering feet. But the spectacle of devotion, the sea of emotion, and the spontaneous outpouring of enthusiasm proved stronger than the rigors of the situation. There were nearly no trees worth speaking of, and barely a few had ever ventured into that area. But from dawn to dusk, thousands of volunteers led by Guruji, Spiritual Father himself, used to unleash the energies on that landscape to reshape it. Every morning till midnight, the cycle would carry on. It was arduous labor versus the rigors of harsh sandy terrain. Ultimately, the hard labor of volunteers triumphed. The sands were dissipated, and the spades ultimately had a field day. It was a constant, unbroken line of tractor trolleys and trucks that carried the sands away from the site. The land became even and level. About 3,000 volunteers, along with 250 tractor trolleys, demolished the dunes to extinction. It was a total of 2.5 months in which the impossible was accomplished. A flat congregation ground of 35 acres was ready. In the meantime, construction work also commenced and buildings arose where nothing had existed. The locals and the passerby were amazed to see this new development in the background of more. It was the change that no one could have imagined. It was a labor of love that no one else could have done. Everyone acknowledged that. It was solely inspired by the true Master himself, who was ever present at the site of action. This was the first ashram that was constructed by His Holiness spiritual father. On 31st October 1993, a mega spiritual congregation was organized by spiritual father in this ashram. Spiritual father leads by example, and it is a testimony to his intense efforts and perfect guidance that today Dera Sacha Soda has orchards of herbals, fruits, etc., which look absolutely anachronistic and paradoxical. Even today, it is pertinent to mention that the first spiritual father had prophesied such an ashram several decades in advance. You can see a panoramic view of Shah Satnamji Dham. Dunes defeated, sand laid to rest, greenery abounds soothingly on the crest. What the spiritual father promises, he himself fulfills by showing the proof. Restless minds he stills. Awareness campaign against social evils. Eradication of prostitution, an unparalleled first. A true saint accepts anyone and everyone as God's children. From shame to respectability, spiritual father bridges the impossible divide. The word prostitute is the greatest abuse to womankind. Tragically, 15 million young women of India are compelled to follow this path. Responding to their plight, His Holiness, spiritual father, opened a new vista and gave a clarion call for eradicating forced prostitution on 9th November 2009, wiping their tears. Spiritual fathers pledged to accept them as spiritual daughters and vowed to pull them out of the high-risk groups. The institution would also arrange for the treatment of deadly diseases like HIV or AIDS and other sexually transmitted infections. Responding to spiritual father's call, over 1,500 young men volunteered to accept and marry the unfortunate women, quoting forced prostitution, and bring them into the social mainstream. Hundreds of families pledged to accept these women as their sisters or daughters in the social fold. The laudable act is being widely appreciated all around the world. Many teams were constituted to spread the word in the red light areas. Initially, people laughed it off, but when they were repeatedly bombarded with hard evidence and newspaper reports, the women forced into prostitution cried in joy at the prospect of liberation. The girls leading this awful life were amazed that people were ready to accept them in their households. It would be Masiha who would think of these forlorn daughters, they said. The girls leading this awful life were amazed that people were ready to accept them in their households. It would be Masiha who would think of these forlorn daughters, they said. With the grace of spiritual father, The divine thought attained a concrete shape in the presence of 12 million devotees on 25th January 2010 on the pious occasion of the birthday of Shah Satnam Singh Ji Maharaj. On that day, 7 of these women, re-Christianized as pious women, Shubhdevi, were wedded to spiritual warriors, Bhakti Yodhas, in presence of His Holiness and large sea of devotees. The women courting forced prostitution were accepted by spiritual father as spiritual daughters and renamed as pious women on this occasion. Spiritual father presented a check of 25,000 rupees and the much needed household goods. Report on prostitution in India. According to Ministry of Women and Child Development, there were 2.8 million prostitutes in 2007. And the number has increased twofold in the recent decade. 35.47% of the prostitutes were less than 18 years of age. Prostitutes in India, as per Human Rights Watch report, number 15 million. About 200 new girls are pushed in to the flesh trade daily, out of which 80 are forcibly compelled into this subhuman existence. If it continues at this pace, there will be a prostitute among every 5 minor girls by 2025. The majority of girls pushed into this vortex are aged around 13 to 14 years, none of whom can be considered to have made it to the profession by their own choice. Mumbai is home to Asia's largest sex commerce, having over 250,000 prostitutes. The biggest centers of prostitution in India are in Mumbai and Kolkata. Come home, ye forgotten ones. Heeding the pious call of His Holiness, over 1,500 young men volunteered to marry women courting forced prostitution. Guruji honored them with the title of spiritual warriors, Bhakti Yodha. Most of them have volunteered themselves to be the members of Shah Satnam Ji Greenest Welfare Force Wing. His Holiness has honored them and explained in a couplet, if a mother must bear, she must give birth to a spiritual warrior. Otherwise simply desist, because her grace and radiance shall disappear. This is a laudable step to eradicate immorality from society. His Holiness has accepted them as His own daughters. Only a true Guru can kindle such altruism. The families who accepted them as sisters or daughters have pledged to carry out all the social and obligations throughout life. It is indeed a revolution, something that is no less than a miracle. Society shall now be able to find a way to heal and redeem itself. A campaign for treating homosexuals, an appeal to lesbian and gay men. Dera Sacha Soda appeals that no religion permits homosexuality. The powerful example of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah upon the instructions of God should not be forgotten. History repeats itself if we repeat the same follies. This is a treatable sexual disease which can be helped with meditation. Hence we appeal to those affected to simply seek free help at the institution. The needy shall also be counseled and guided to receive appropriate Ayurvedic medical treatment. homosexuality and unnatural psychosexual dysfunction. All religions believe that homosexuality is unnatural. It also attracts the highest risk of HIV infection. This is not just a disorder but a serious perversion. It is said that efforts are being made to legitimize this problem in the country. Dera Sacha Sudha has only compassion and affection for those afflicted with this problem. And homophobia is not condemned, but unfortunately some self-proclaimed intellectuals, social workers and thinkers are deliberating upon aggressive advocacy options to legitimize this disorder. But is anyone willing to proffer a guarantee that newer verses will not emerge from this? HIV was first detected amongst homosexual males. Also have seen a slew of new viruses and organisms that were unheard of earlier. Mad cow disease from farming cows for beef, avian influenza from poultry, swine flu from pigs are clear-cut examples that anything unnatural begets disease. It has traveled from chimpanzee to humans, possibly through bestial contact. Already newer HIV variants are being reported. In the ashram, homosexuals are helped by teaching meditation and offering Ayurvedic treatment, something that has incomparable results. Data has only love and concern from those who are afflicted with this disease. A holistic treatment program incorporating Ayurvedic treatment with meditation and yoga has been put in place to treat this fixation. The starting point of the initiation of change shall come from within, shall come from with them. So is the program designed. Problems arising from same-sex act. Such individuals are more prone to HIV infection by 3 to 4 times. The lifespan of such individuals decreases by 20 years on an average. Psychological disease, depression, addiction to drugs, and suicidal tendencies are more common in such persons. Such individuals are more prone to sexual disease like HIV, HPV, gonorrhea, syphilis, and other diseases like anal cancer, hepatitis B and C. After homosexuality, social amalgamation of the intersex communities. Spiritual Father has given them a new name of Sukh Dua Samaj. That is the community that seeks well-being and prays for the welfare of others. This was traditionally their role in society, which subsequently degenerated. Guruji inspires people not to desert such children that are born with such defects. But if they feel compelled, institution is ready to accept them. Guruji, spiritual father, interacts with them and asks them to be forthcoming about their problems. The intersex children in India are forced to join vagrant eunuchs